The first call came at 11:38 p.m. Daniel was halfway through a movie when his phone lit up on the coffee table. A name appeared on the screen. Aaron. Daniel already knew what it was about. He paused the movie and answered. Hello. Bro, I hate to ask. My car broke down. Daniel leaned back into the couch and closed his eyes. Outside, rain tapped against the apartment window. Where are you? Near Maple Street. Daniel looked at the clock. 11:39 p.m. He had work in the morning. Can you come get me? There was a brief silence. Daniel sighed. Yeah, give me 20 minutes. You're a lifesaver. The call ended. Daniel stared at the dark television screen for a moment. Then he stood up. 25 minutes later, he was driving through heavy rain with tired eyes and windshield wipers fighting for their lives. Aaron was standing beside a silver Honda with his hands in his pockets. The moment he saw Daniel's headlights, he smiled. I knew you'd come. Daniel laughed. Get in. As they drove back through the city, Aaron spent most of the ride talking about work, relationships, and plans for the future. Daniel mostly listened. That was normal. People always talked. Daniel always listened. When they finally reached Aaron's apartment building, Aaron opened the passenger door. Seriously, thanks, man. No problem. Aaron stepped out, then paused. If you ever need anything, call me. Daniel smiled. I will. Aaron shut the door. Daniel watched him disappear into the building. Then he drove home alone. The next morning, his alarm rang at 6:30. 3 hours of sleep. Daniel dragged himself out of bed. His phone buzzed. A text message. Not from Aaron, from his cousin. Need a ride to an interview. Any chance you're free? Daniel looked at the message, then at the clock, then at his half-finished breakfast. 5 minutes later, he was back in his car. By Thursday, he had helped a coworker finish a presentation. By Saturday, he was carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs because a friend was moving apartments. By the following Tuesday, he had loaned someone money. Again, it wasn't that Daniel couldn't say no. He simply never did. And somewhere along the way, people stopped asking whether he could help. They started assuming he would. A month later, Daniel sat at a crowded restaurant celebrating his 29th birthday. 8 people sat around the table. Friends. People he'd known for years. The waitress placed a cake in front of him. Everyone cheered. Someone raised a glass. Another person recorded a video. For a moment, Daniel looked around the table and smiled. He felt lucky. These were his people. Or at least that's what he believed. Then his phone vibrated inside his pocket. Daniel pulled it out. A message from his mother. Call me when you're free. Nothing unusual. He slipped the phone away. The dinner continued. Laughter, stories, music, cake. At 10:47 p.m., Daniel finally left the restaurant. The city streets were nearly empty. He unlocked his car and sat behind the wheel. Then he remembered the message. He called his mother. She answered after the second ring. Her voice sounded weak, much weaker than normal. Mom. A pause, then a quiet response. Daniel, I don't feel very well. Daniel gripped the steering wheel tighter. Mom, what's wrong? I don't know. Her voice sounded breathless. My chest hurts. The words hit him like ice water. Are you alone? Yes. Daniel started the engine immediately. I'm coming. The drive felt longer than it was. Every red light felt personal. Every slow driver felt intentional. By the time he reached his mother's apartment building, his heart was pounding. He found her sitting on the couch, holding her chest. Her face was pale. Mom. She tried to smile. It didn't work. 20 minutes later, they were sitting inside the emergency department. Nurses moved quickly through the hallways. Machines beeped. Doctors walked past without looking up. Daniel sat beside his mother, holding a paper cup of cold coffee. His phone battery showed 18%. The doctor eventually approached. We need to keep her overnight for observation. Daniel nodded. The doctor left. His mother was taken upstairs. And for the first time that night, Daniel was alone, completely alone. He looked around the waiting room. An older man sat sleeping in a chair. A woman cried quietly into a tissue. A television mounted on the wall played a late-night game show nobody was watching. Daniel rubbed his face, then reached for his phone. He opened his contacts. Aaron, the same friend whose car had broken down. The same friend who said, "If you ever need anything, call me." Daniel pressed call. The phone rang and rang. No answer. He tried again. Straight to voicemail. Daniel stared at the screen for a moment, then selected another contact. Michael, the coworker he'd spent 3 nights helping with that presentation. Rings. "Hey man." Relief washed over him. "Michael, what's up?" "My mom's in the hospital." Silence. "Oh." Daniel looked down. "I've been here all night. I was wondering if maybe you could stop by for a little while." Another pause. Longer this time. "Tonight?" "Yeah." Michael sighed. "Bro, I'd love to help, but tomorrow's crazy for me." Daniel nodded slowly, even though Michael couldn't see him. "Yeah. I'm sorry, man." "It's okay." The call ended. Daniel stared at the blank screen, then opened another contact. Chris. No answer. Jacob. Busy. Nathan. Declined. The waiting room suddenly felt colder. By 3 in the morning, Daniel had stopped calling. Not because he didn't need help, because he had run out of people to call. The next morning, he bought coffee from a vending machine. The coffee tasted terrible. He drank it anyway. Hours passed. Doctors came and went. Tests were performed. Questions were asked. And still nobody showed up. Not one friend. Not one cousin. Not one coworker. Around noon, his phone finally buzzed. "Aaron." Daniel answered immediately. "Hey, bro. Sorry I missed your calls." Daniel sat up straighter. "It's okay." Aaron laughed. "I was out last night." Daniel waited. Aaron continued. "So what was up?" "My mom was admitted to the hospital." "Oh." A pause. "Is she okay?" "They're still running tests." "Damn." Another pause. Then, "Anyway, I was calling because I need a favor." Daniel closed his eyes. Aaron kept talking. "My landlord's coming tomorrow, and I'm short on rent." Daniel didn't respond. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Aaron laughed nervously. "You there?" Daniel looked through the hospital window. Rain rolled down the glass. "Yeah." "You think you could help me out?" For the first time in years, Daniel didn't know what to say. A nurse pushed a wheelchair through the hallway. A child cried somewhere in the distance. The hospital continued moving, but Daniel felt frozen. Eventually, he lowered the phone. "Not this time." Silence. "What?" "I can't." Aaron sounded confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel looked toward the elevator, toward the floor where his mother was resting, then back at the rain. "I just can't." The line went quiet. Then Aaron spoke. "All right." His tone had changed. Completely. "No worries." The call ended. Daniel stared at the screen. For years, he had imagined this moment differently. He thought saying no would feel powerful, liberating. Instead, it felt strange, like wearing someone else's clothes. That evening, his mother finally fell asleep. Daniel sat beside the hospital bed, reading an old magazine. A soft knock came from the doorway. Daniel looked up. A young woman stepped inside, carrying a paper bag. He recognized her immediately. Emma, the woman from apartment 3B, his neighbor. "What are you doing here?" Emma smiled awkwardly. "You left your apartment in a hurry yesterday." Daniel blinked. "What?" "I saw you." She lifted the paper bag. "I figured you probably hadn't eaten much." Inside was a sandwich, a bottle of water, and fruit. Daniel stared at the bag, then at Emma. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." She shrugged. "But I wanted to." For several seconds, Daniel couldn't speak, because something felt different. Emma wasn't a close friend. She wasn't family. He had never loaned her money, never picked her up at midnight, never spent weekends solving her problems. Yet she was standing here. Meanwhile, the people he would have done anything for hadn't even sent a text. Emma placed the bag beside him. "How's your mom?" Daniel smiled weakly. "She's doing better." "Good." Then she pointed toward the sandwich. "Eat." Daniel laughed for the first time in 2 days. A genuine laugh. Emma smiled, then left. The door clicked shut behind her. Daniel sat there quietly, looking at the sandwich, looking at the water, looking at the doorway. And for the first time since arriving at the hospital, he didn't feel completely alone. 3 days later, his mother was discharged. Daniel drove her home. The sun was setting. The city glowed orange. His phone buzzed several times during the drive. Aaron, Michael, 2 cousins, a coworker, favors. Daniel glanced at the notifications, then locked the screen. His mother noticed. "Aren't you going to answer?" Daniel smiled. For the first time in a very long time, no. Outside the window, traffic flowed through the city. People rushed home. The sky slowly darkened, and Daniel kept driving. Not toward another favor, not toward another obligation, just home. Maybe you've never sat in a hospital waiting room like Daniel. Maybe you've never spent a night wondering who would actually show up when life gets difficult. But chances are, you've had people in your life who were quick to ask for your help and slow to offer theirs. The truth is, being kind is not the problem. Being generous is not the problem. The problem begins when you give so much of yourself that there's nothing left for you. Daniel spent years believing that always saying yes made him a good friend. What he eventually learned was that real friendships aren't measured by how much you sacrifice. They're measured by who stays when there's nothing to gain. So if this story taught us anything, it's this. Pay attention to the people who show up when life gets hard. Because those people are rare. And they're worth more than 100 people who only call when they need something.